So what is going on, guys? NandoPrince93 here with another video, and I've been getting a lot of questions, especially when I made my mouse review for the iPad Pro with the new iPadOS 13.4 update. So as most of you guys do know, Apple brought in native mouse and trackpad support to the iPad Pro. So obviously Apple's efforts has been going more towards the trackpad than the mouse itself, because when the new Magic Keyboard comes out in May for the iPad Pro, it's going to have a little trackpad right down there. And my belief is that that trackpad is going to be used a lot more for gestures as opposed to pointing and clicking. Yeah, sure, it might help out when you're editing a lot of text, because the new mouse support does help with that immensely, but it's going to be used mostly for gestures because it is a tiny trackpad. And if you guys have ever used a Microsoft Surface trackpad, I believe it's going to be the same size, and I'm not a huge fan of how small that is. So the main selling point for the trackpad, to get, at least right now, to get a Magic Trackpad 2, is the fact that the gesture support is fully optimized on that trackpad, right? It's almost as if you're touching the screen of the iPad through the trackpad, because that 3 or 4 finger gesture support has been optimized and kind of goes over from the iPad screen onto the trackpad, right? So people who have just a normal mouse, like I do here, the Logitech MX Anywhere S2, who prefer a mouse versus a trackpad, kind of got, put on the back burner. Sure, these mice still, they work as point and click mice, they work pretty well, the scrolling is still there, but again, the gesture support and the 3 finger stuff does not exist because there's no surface for you to do that, right? So there is a workaround, and the workaround is, again, very, very similar to how the mouse support was prior to that 13.4 update, and it's all through accessibility, right? So if you have a mouse that has a bunch of different keys, more than just a right click and left click, then you're able to program those keys to do certain functions. That's what I've done with my MX Anywhere S2 mouse. I programmed certain keys to mimic those functionalities of the 3 gesture support. So when I press a button, it'll take me home. When I double click that button, it'll take me to multitasking. When I press down on a key, it'll bring spotlight search. So different things like that that really help kind of allow the mouse to have the same functionality as a trackpad and still keep that point and click feature that mice have, in my opinion, better than a trackpad. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up that accessibility stuff, but then there is this little piece that is kind of annoying, which a lot of people have asked me about because I did touch on it, and it's whenever you have accessibility or assistive touch on and you don't have Bluetooth connected, you get this ugly little menu circle that shows up, right? So what I did was I added a shortcut to kind of alleviate that and make that as easy as possible, so I don't have to go through a bunch of different settings menus to turn it off and on when I see fit. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up shortcuts on your widget screen, so it's on the home screen, and then I'm also going to show you guys how to set up that shortcut. And again, I'm very new to shortcuts, so it's been a learning process, but a lot of people reached out to me via email, via comments, how to actually get rid of it, so I figured I'd show you guys in a cool little top-down view, which I've been experimenting with. So let's get into this video, guys. Alright, so the first thing I want to show you guys is how to actually customize these different keys to do what you want them to do. So if you guys can see on the screen, I have certain functions that are pre-programmed for me to do what I want them to do. So if I'm in an app, let's take you guys to Safari. If I'm in an app and I press this middle button right here, it takes me back home. If I press down on this side button right here, spotlight search comes on. If I press up here, then it runs a certain shortcut that I want it to run. And then obviously you have the right click and the left click. So that's what we're dealing with from a programming standpoint. And real quick, just to show you guys, I've done a bunch of videos on this. In order to actually customize it, make sure your mouse is connected via Bluetooth. Go into accessibility, pointer control, and then down here you see this assistive touch setting button. So you just click on here, click on your mouse device. This is where it kind of allows you to actually program these keys to do whatever you want. So the more buttons the actual mouse has, the more you can program, obviously. So if you have something with 10 different hotkeys, you can actually program all those hotkeys to do what you need them to do, right? So that's how you customize the different hotkeys. And in order for those to work, assistive touch and accessibility need to be turned on. So before we get into that, I do want to show you guys how I get my widget, or how I get my shortcuts widget onto the actual widget screen. It's very simple. Just scroll down to the edit button, and then you'll be able to see it here. Add it to the ones that are added to the order that you want it in. I like to keep it visible at all times when I open up the iPad, so it's quick access. So that's why it's my number 2 one underneath my weather, right? So now that we have the shortcut set up, we have the different hotkeys, programmed and set to what you want them to do. Now I'm going to show you guys what happens when I disconnect the mouse, right? So if I disconnect this mouse, right? So I'm going to switch it. You guys can see immediately that annoying menu pops up. right? Because assistive touch is on. So how do I get rid of that when I'm ready to not use my mouse anymore? All I do is I press this touch menu button and then it disappears. So it's a toggle that I created in order to quickly switch in and out between them, because now if I can reconnect my mouse, you guys can see that it's there, but all the buttons that I pre-programmed don't work anymore, right? So that's not bringing up any multitasking. If I go into an app and try to press this button, nothing happens. So it kind of just clicks. It doesn't do the function that I want it to do. So in order to get those to work again, all I do is I press this touch menu button, it's turned on, and then all of a sudden I double click and everything works how it's supposed to, right? So now I'm gonna show you guys how to get this shortcut going. And again, I'm extremely new at shortcuts themselves. So I'm just gonna walk you guys through how I created this one. I only have a couple and they're pretty minimal, they're pretty easy, right? They're just to turn lights off and on and then the touch menu itself. So I'm just gonna walk through how to create this shortcut. So you go into create a shortcut. What I type in here is type in assistive touch. So all you do is you type it in, it comes up, you click on it, and then this is the shortcut, this is it itself. So all you have to do is click on this little turn button, turn it to toggle. So that means every time you touch it, obviously when you toggle something, it flips on and on, or off and on. And then that is the toggle for assistive touch. You press next, you name it whatever you want to name it, and then all of a sudden, it's in your menu right here. And then from there, all you do, like I said, is turn the widget on or put the shortcut widget in the widget section, and there it is. So that's literally all you have to do, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to shortcuts themselves. I'm still learning a lot, and I'm gonna bring you guys a little more of that, but that's how I've been able to get rid of that annoyance of having the assistive touch off and on. So right now, like I said, mouse is connected with the assistive touch on, disconnect mouse, that shows up, press the touch menu, and it gets rid of that. And then again, if I reconnect it, all my functions are gone because the touch menu is off, but if I turn them on and do whatever I need to do, now my hotkeys are working. So that's the beauty of the iPad, guys. You know, it's very, very customizable, especially within the settings, and Apple is allowing us to do more and more with it. So honestly, as of now, the only thing that the trackpad has on my MX Anywhere S2 is the horizontal scrolling, which I use a lot for LumaFusion edits when I'm kind of going through the actual timeline. But other than that, it works extremely well. So if you don't need horizontal scrolling, or you can hold off on that, then you can use any mouse you want and just, you know, program those hotkeys and then create the shortcut to alleviate all that unnecessary like little circle menu that I was talking about. So that's pretty much gonna do for this video, guys. I am working on, you know, those two videos that I mentioned from the poll. So I'm working on my 10.2 iPad versus iPad Pro, which I'm pretty surprised about. The 10.2 iPad is plenty powerful. And then I'm gonna be making a top iPad Pro accessories under $50 for you guys to take a look at. So really do appreciate all the support, guys. Super kind comments. And then we did announce the winner. So if you guys haven't found out who the winner was for the trackpad 2, go to Twitter and check it out. But that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully this kind of helps somebody out, because I did get a lot of questions, like I said, in the comments, and people reached out to me via email. So that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Stay tuned for some awesome stuff coming up. Until next time, peace.